The balance, swinging at the edge of the light, always fails to tilt in either direction, just ripples of oscillation. If it leans to the left, the right becomes lighter. If it tilts to the right, the weight of the left screams. But this is only a fleeting illusion. The balance's needle dissipates before it is set, leaving not even a trail, and sinking into the cracks of the world in the past. This balance had a name. Some called it justice, others revered it as balance. That balance that will never be determined. That which only wavers, that which only fades away. It is like a particle dancing in the bubbling gap of the quantum. Is it here, or is it not here? Is it now, or is it not now? Is it already past? It is like a particle dancing in the bubbling gap of a quantum, whether it exists or not, whether it is here and now, or whether it is already in the past. And yet, we still look into the balance, believing that there is an answer there, or knowing that the answer is in the wavering state. Neither of them prevails, and they just keep wavering. But the amplitude is never constant. Sometimes it tilts at the speed of light, and sometimes it melts into the extreme point of emptiness. Gently touched with a fingertip, the mass melts away. Was weight a concept that collapses the moment we try to measure it? Or is it that fluctuation is the truth, and stillness is merely an illusion? And then I realize, this balance may not have been there from the beginning. If you strain your eyes, the plates, the axis, and the fulcrum all become blurred, one by one, until all that remains is the oscillation in the air it flickers. And soon, it disappears, a balance hanging in the silence. The past on one side, the future on the other. Memories that should have been heavy in the past become lighter than air, and the shadow of time yet to come sinks like a stone. There is no equilibrium in this balance. In the first place, it is not based on the premise of equilibrium. One presses one side of the balance with a faint fingertip and thinks that the future is tilted just slightly. The next moment, however, one sees a different composition in front of one's eyes. Without time to discern whether it is a remnant of the past or a sign of the future, it flickers and then quickly disappears. The weight of the plate shifts, and the direction of the needle changes according to the gaze of the person who tries to measure it. If this balance has gravity, it is the consciousness of the observer itself. If this balance disappears, it is the end of the desire for balance. The flickering of light drifting from beyond, reflected in its flash, is a fragile equilibrium. On the one hand, the heavy lead of reason. On the other, a bubble of emotion as light as a feather. A single breeze tilts the scales, and a silent voice disturbs their trajectory. Or perhaps there was no equilibrium before the scales were shaken. If there is nothing to measure, there is nothing to be measured. And yet, someone says, fair enough fairness. But fairness to what? Whenever an invisible hand touches the plate, the numbers dance, and the truth becomes hazy, and so the balance disappears. Each time a decision is made, each time a hesitation deepens, its outline gradually melts away, and only the wind shimmers silently. As one eye gazes, what does the other eye forget? Here is a balance that never stands still. The equilibrium that the needle is supposed to show is merely an accidental flash, and in the next moment, the light itself collapses. The reason on one side is too heavy, the emotion on the other too light. Every wavering, every shifting to one side changes the name of justice, and every wavering shifts the contours of sin. If someone had put their finger on it, would it really have tilted no? Or was it tilted in the first place? Or was even the concept of tilting merely a momentary illusion? Either way, the balance itself returns to the mist before anyone can find the answer. It was as if the equilibrium really existed, as if even the imbalance was an illusion. A single ray of light, a single drop of darkness. Who decides which of the invisible weights placed on both palms is heavier? The wind blows, the balance tilts, and it swings with each breath. The numbers engraved on these balances are illusory, and equilibrium is but a dream. The pretense of formal legitimacy and the alienation of essential truth. When one side tips, the other side also sinks. The world collapses at the mere touch of a fingertip. What lies in the shimmering is the form of the law that cannot be defined. But it is short-lived. The balance disappears and nothing remains in the two palms. Now, what was the weight?